Good afternoon, everyone. This is Phil Mason, and thanks for joining us for another edition of Tech Tips Live. I hope it's sunny where you are. We are not enjoying any sun right now in northern Indiana, but at least the snow is all gone, so that's a good thing. I will be your host today. Matt Bateman is joining me as technical resource.
Good afternoon. This is Matt.
Simple framework here. We give a little bit of an introduction to what we'll be talking about today, and then Matt is going to go into our gain seeker charts. And good gosh, I already see a mistake I made on the slide. I won't even point it out, but hey, things like that happen. And then we'll go on to some Q&A at the end of things. So what we're looking at first off is if you're using the old SPC and DMS charts, then you're missing out. And we want to help some of you move on to gain seeker charts, the new ones. And so some of you may be unfamiliar with some of the new features. Matt's going to spend some time showing us those today. And once the software is installed and you're using it on a daily basis, how is it that you really use it? And we want to try and answer some of those questions for you. So what we're seeing is that some of you have not been getting the full benefit of the gain seeker charts. You had the old SPC and the DMS charts. People are trained on those, are comfortable with them, but they haven't gotten to the new one. We're not making ongoing enhancements to the old charts. Our development efforts are going into the GS charts and what's contained in there. So if you're using the old charts, you're kind of sitting still. And we want to show you some of the new things and help encourage you to get on with the new charting program, as well as just diminished utility for gain seeker if you're not using some of the latest things. So finally, we want to see you switch over to using gain seeker charts. And Matt will show you, again, some of the reasons you should be doing that. And on your own, how you might help yourselves do that, digging into the help files. We have great comprehensive help files. It's all available out there online. But if need be, also get some training time for your team so that they have better knowledge and more comfort, and take advantage of all these new features and realize the benefits. That's our end goal and where we want you to be. So, Matt, I'm going to go ahead and turn things over to you and take it away.
So, as Phil was saying earlier, we've got a lot of people that bought the software a while back and have been using and been trained on the old SPC charts and reports, DMS charts and reports, even the enterprise dashboard that came out before we switched to gain seeker charts. If you call into tech support, we refer to those as the legacy software. And they've been replaced by, those three modules there have been replaced by basically one module, the gain seeker charts. You can get all three types of data, the SPC or variable data or the attribute DMS data in the same screen in gain seeker charts. There was one report builder in the old charts and reports that is not in gain seeker charts, but you can use the dynamic reports to build that. So essentially with the new dynamic reports and the new gain seeker charts, we've replaced all the functionality of the old modules. So that's that, and we're going to switch to the next slide here. If you remember in the old, if you used the old, there were kind of two quick chart menus. One had on the left there, you can see at the top, you would pick the type of chart you want, what kind of visualization you wanted. Part number at the bottom. When you hit next, you would go to this retrieval settings, which had how many points you want to do, your date time setting if you're doing a filter. All of those menu options are still in the new stuff. This is SPC, DMS is the same, but in the new stuff, instead of a step-by-step, wizard, we just do tabs. So tab 1, you pick your part number. Tab 2, you pick the type of chart that you want to do. And tab 3 is your settings. One of the things that is handy with the With the new is, if you notice there on the quick chart, there's two tabs. There's a retrieval tab and a statistics tab. And then there's also at the bottom a radio button for basic options and advanced options. In the new stuff, you do not have to do any of that. Switch back and forth between the tabs or the radio buttons. It's all there. There's menu options for that, and that standard overrides down at the bottom will get you to the same settings as the basic versus advanced and the statistics options and so on. But at the very top, we kind of call out the date, time period, the number of points to retrieve, and whether you have a filter or not, same as we had in the past. So a couple of things that we've improved on that were in the old, but we've added some new stuff to it. Paired sample analysis. I won't go into this. If we have questions later and we have time, we can maybe do this. In the old stuff, there was a paired sample analysis that you could run from the file menu. There wasn't a button for it. And in the new stuff, there's a button there that's just on the main screen. You'll see that when we pull it up in a little bit. But we've made it better in GainSeeker charts. In GainSeeker charts, with the paired sample analysis, you can now group the data by one of your traceability fields. In the old stuff, it was all based on counts. So, if you had a part and you collected 10 data on 10 parts and you've missed a characteristic for one of those 10 samples, your paired sample analysis would get thrown off because you'd be comparing, part 8 to part 9 with the characteristics when you missed one. With the new stuff in GainSeeker charts, we could group it by, for example, serial number. And if you only have one of the data for one of the characteristics for a serial number, and you don't have it for the other characteristic, we will ignore that and not try and line that up. So this helps keep that lined up and makes it a little bit more useful if you're missing some data. So that's in the new GainSeeker charts, if you're interested in that. The GainSeeker wizards that we've had in the past, and I'm not going to go into a lot of detail on the wizards because Byron went into that. I think last Tech Tips Live went through the GainSeeker wizards. But in GainSeeker charts and DMS charts and reports, so SPC charts and reports and DMS charts and reports, we had the analysis wizard, we had the DMS drill down wizard. In GS charts, we have all those, plus a big data wizard and a defect trend wizard. So we'll recommend, if you want to get into the wizards and see what the power of that is, look at that. The big data wizard, like I said, Byron did a Tech Tips Live on.
It was in August.
In August, Tech Tips Live.
Yep. So
we won't go into a lot of that, but there's some powerful stuff there. Defects that are trending upward will get caught by that defect trend wizard, etc. Again, another improvement that we've made versus some of the legacy stuff, in the enterprise dashboard module, you were limited to 3 types of dashboards: real-time failures, KPI gauges, and statistical filters. In the GainSeeker charts, there are a whole host of things there. You can see them.
Got all the icons.
All the icons there: date, time, static text, dynamic text, marquee, image, HTML, grid, stats list, data table, chart, dial gauge, bar gauge, button, the big data wizards for SPC and DMS, a paired sample analysis you can put in there, Python script, or the defect trend wizard. So you can see there's a lot more options with the dashboards, and as I said, that was in the August 2019 Tech Tips Live, so we're not going to spend a lot of time on that.
And again, even with that, Matt, with the ability to have Python in the on the dashboards, that even a whole nother iteration,
a whole lot more with that.
A whole nother technology there.
So just real quick, we're not going to spend a lot of time on the wizards here or on the dashboard here, but you can see in the background there the gauges that were part of the enterprise dashboard. And then the front image is gauges that were built in the new GainSeeker charts. And you can see that those gauges, you have a lot more options with what you can do with them. I think the ones in the front screen are a little cleaner. And you can still do some of those same things with the real-time failures, the reds and greens. This particular case, we didn't do it, but we do have that yellow line as the target and the black line is where you actually are. So new features that we've shown, just want to kind of hit on this. New things that we've shown in previous Tech Tips Live. OEE was covered in the January 2018 Tech Tips Live. We've added OEE, overall equipment efficiency. If you're familiar with that, January 2018 was that's the availability and performance and quality. Dynamic desktops, dynamic dashboards, I think was April of 2018. And then some of the dynamic date options, which I'll show a little bit. I actually have a screen cap of this, was October of 2018. So some of these you've seen before, wanted to throw them out there. If you want to get more on these after this, you can go to our website. I believe under support, there's a Tech Tips Live link, and we do have a YouTube channel that we are posting the Tech Tips Live. So those are out there. You can go look at them.
Yeah, if you go directly even to YouTube and go to the Hertzler Systems channel, we have a playlist that is just our Tech Tips Live archive in there. So they're all out there. Next slide, getting there.
So just a couple of images on this. This is the OEE. As I said, it's kind of hard to read with this image, but you've got the overall OEE, availability, quality, and performance for Pack 1. So that's the blue. The top left blue is the overall. Then you've got the availability is the red, quality is green, and performance is the aqua. Kind of the same, very similar color to the overall. But this is just a snapshot of that. Like I said, go watch the January 2018 Tech Tips Live for more information on that. Dynamic desktops and dashboards, as you can see here. These are some options you can set. So if you notice, for example, the dashboard control retrieval that's there at the bottom, you have options for most recent SPC data, which will go out and it will grab, you can set a filter for line 1, and what it will do is it will grab whatever the most recent part is for line 1. So you can create a dashboard that is line 1 data, and it will go query the data and say, part XYZ is running on line 1, and that's what the dashboard will show. Tomorrow, it's not part XYZ. Tomorrow, you're running part ABC on line 1. You don't have to create a second dashboard. You just use that same dashboard that's getting the most recent data, and it will show that for you. So depending on how you build your filter, this retrievals will get the most recent data for that, so you know what's running at the current time.
Yeah, so it's more of a broadcast. It's a real kind of view in a visualization going on what's going on right now.
Yeah, and it doesn't need to be updated when you do a switchover of what you're running for the current line. The dynamic desktops are the same type of thing. You can choose between SPC and DMS, and you can say, I want my dynamic desktop to include all part numbers that are, your base part number, then you get all your characteristics, or even descriptions. So if you have a series of parts that run that are all built with the same description and you want to be able to look at them in one desktop, you can do your filter based on the descriptions there. So,
all right. So that was April of 2018 that we did the dynamic desktops.
Right. So dynamic dates. This one is very similar. This is covered a little bit more detail in the October of 2018, but this gives you some options. So a lot of people do dashboards or desktops and they want to look at yesterday's data. Well, what happens if you, on Monday morning, when you come in and you want to look at yesterday's data, but you were closed for the weekend, or Thanksgiving is coming up. So on Thursday, you're not running, your plant's closed Thursday, Friday. On Monday, what happens when you come in? There's no data from yesterday. So what you can do is previous day with data. And on Monday, you'll see Friday's data. Or over a holiday, Christmas is on a Wednesday. On Thursday, you'll see Tuesday's data. The last time there's actual data. It goes back, there's a limit to how far it goes back. I think it's 7 days, so it won't get something if you're shut down for 2 weeks and you look at previous data, it won't get it. But anything within the last few days, it will get that and you can set your thing. 2 days ago, previous day with data, 2 days ago, 7 days ago, some of those previous things. If you want to set up a dashboard that is, has data for Sunday, the last 7 days of the week, and you want to look at Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, you get this previous Sunday, previous Monday, etc., and build your desktop with that. This is all fairly new, but as I said, more detail in the October Tech Tips Live, so go look at that if you're interested in that. So, getting to some of the features that are new in GainSeeker charts that we have not shown in desktop or in Tech Tips Live. Brushing, chart skins, data grid, and scrolling and search. So for this, I'm going to actually pull up the GainSeeker charts here. We'll get into it. Just a couple of things here. You'll notice, there's your SPC charts, your DMS charts, your dashboards, desktops, OEE charts, all that stuff that's there combined into one, paired sample analysis, so you can get that and run through that. But I'm going to start with brushing. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to pull up an SPC chart. You're familiar with that. Again, there's the same type of screens that we have showing, and I don't see your parts here. Let me make sure I'm logged in as the right user. There we go. And I want to get let's try the D34 diameter XI. Didn't put the dash in my notes.
There you go.
So pulling this up, and now you'll notice I did not go to the screen with the count and filter because I didn't need to. I wanted a control chart, and there's your control chart. With the brushing of data, I can look at this, and you can't see it with WebEx turned on, but I can brush that, and you'll see here I can do a new chart of that, and essentially what it's going to give me is what's in that box. I'm not seeing that. I don't know if you guys are seeing it. When WebEx isn't turned on, it gives you a little outline there. But if I do that and I do new chart, it's going to take me just to that data that's there.
So the idea is we can take a slice. You can see a chart. You say, I want to focus in on these data points, draw the box, take the slice.
Yep.
We
can look at the same thing. If I do that and I go to show data, it's going to give me a data set there.
Okay.
So pretty straightforward with that. If you have, for example, I've got this event here, I can just do that. I could actually double click it, but if you've got a bunch of things in a row that you want to look at, and I can actually bypass temporarily. So just from statistics, still going to show my chart, but it's going to update my control limits and whatnot. I can do the same thing, and I can do a permanent bypass, or I could do it from statistics and have it off the chart. If you have an out of control condition that you know what's going on and you wanted to look at that. Double clicking gets me straight to the data, same thing. So that brushing just makes us so we can slice into the data. We can look at a certain set of data without having to do as much. It's just I want to look at these 5 data points, and I get there and get that data. So that's brushing. Look at something else here. So this is a set of data. It's grouped by anchor point. If you're familiar with this, you can actually drill into the groups. It's grouped by anchor point. I can.
And just so everybody's clear, you just right-clicked on that.
Yes, I just right-clicked on that. If I go down here, I can do new charts for groups, and get group 6 and have a chart for that. Or I can brush it and new chart for that. You get that. The duplicate option works the same way. If I want a different type of chart or multiple charts, I can do new charts, and it will give me the different types of charts that I can pull up there. So that's brushing data. One other thing that's interesting that is in the new GainSeeker charts that was not in charts and reports is chart skins. What chart skins are is there's a set of settings that you can save, and you can pull up all the time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this up and you do not have any chart skins here.
Well, that's probably true.
Okay. So we'll make a chart skin.
All right.
So what I'm going to do, one of the things I was going to talk about later anyway, is the search function here. The search function, there's a whole lot of settings here that we could change for everything. So what I'm going to do is use this search function. Instead of trying to scroll through each of these and figure out what I want to change, I'm going to use the search function and type in grid. And I'm going to go, that's not the one I want. Data grid. There it is. So there's a couple of settings here. These are new settings in GainSeeker charts, which you don't have anyway. So it's good for me to show. I'm going to turn on scroll data on chart, and I'm going to turn on show data grid on the chart. And then I'm going to save these as Tips Live grid and just turn those on. So what we've done here is we have a data grid up at the top. So it's limited to the last 10 points or so, but we have a data grid. So I get my X bar across the top. I have my moving range, date, time settings, my part number, and I have that information. So if I had a different part that was different subgroup size, I'd get other information, but I also have a scroll down at the bottom. So as I click through that and back up, you can see the data at the top changes. You can see my data here is changing. My count is going from, it's 1,000 to now 980s, and I can scroll through that.
So you've created a window, basically, that's X points, 10 points wide, and you're just moving around within that. And seeing
and seeing that, yep. You can see the CPK there as well. That's something that's set up in there.
Cool. So the CPK of those 10 points, of the visible points.
Of the visible points.
Excellent.
Actually, that might be of the whole retrieval.
Okay.
So that's that. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull up a different part number, and we'll go down to one of these. Pull that up, and you can see this one is not got my grid or my scrolling on it. If I right click on this and go to settings again, chart skins, I can do my Tech Tips Live chart skin and apply it, and it goes right there. Instead of having to go through the menu and find those settings that I want to turn on and off, it saves those. Here's one you can see that it's got a note, so it shows that there's a note. So that's what chart skins let you do. You can use those chart skins for different types of drill in, like we've done here with the smaller window where I can actually see the data, and the smaller window with the scrolling. You could do that to have a particular font size, so you change the font size and the color, maybe put something on the chart titles for a particular customer. So when you want to send something to a particular customer, but internally or for a different customer, you want different things, you can save chart skins for various things like that, and then easily switch back and forth between those settings instead of saying, oh, there's 10 settings I have to change every time and click, click, click. Right. 20, 30 clicks, it's just a couple of clicks to apply that chart skin.
That's a great tip for, anything where customers are requiring data and they want to see certain things on a chart. You can arrange that. A lot of those are available in the chart skins. And like you said, customer A, customer B, customer C, chart skin.
Yep. Yep. So,
so 4 minutes left, Matt.
Yeah, those were the main things. I think I've gotten through most of my notes here. Wanted to show the brushing, the zooming, grouping and zooming into charts, chart skins, which we just did. the data grid and scrolling, and the search function. Again, you don't, with that search function, you don't have to jump back and forth between the advanced tab and the statistics versus the retrieval settings. Those are all in one thing. You do the search and you get what you're looking for.
Okay.
So,
all right, fantastic. Well, we got a couple minutes for questions here. And so if any of you who are on today have a question, you can put those in the chat window and we will answer them here live without a net. But just to reiterate, so people who are used to using SPC and DMS charts and dashboards as all their own separate icons, those are all now combined into GainSeeker charts. And so GainSeeker charts has those combined in them, plus the extended features that you just really touched on those, as well as a number that we've hit in previous Tech Tips Live.
Yeah, there was one thing I meant to say and I didn't think about it when I was talking about the dynamic desktops and dashboards. I know that there are a couple of our customers that have done a lot with desktops in GainSeeker charts and reports. Over the years, they've built a lot of desktops. Those dynamic desktops and dynamic dashboards, where you build your filter and it updates based on what you're running at the current time, can save you a lot of having to rebuild what you have in the old system. So you might be able to go from 100 desktops in the old one, where you have one desktop for every part that you run with all the characteristics in it, to 2, maybe 3 or 4 desktops in the new stuff when you build it with the dynamic settings, so that you get what's currently running. That's how people, if you're, depending on how you're using the desktops, but if you have one built for every part and you look at that while it's running, right, you can just build one that builds the based on the most recent data, and that will get you potentially less work to get the same value for what you got for your desktops in the legacy system.
Okay, good. Any kind of tips or tricks with the dynamics that you have a dynamic desktop and there's a tech call I'm sure you guys get that, hey, we're not seeing anything this morning, or what tends to be somebody who's maybe changing? Do you have any tips there, Matt?
Well, the couple of things that matter with that, I would say, is your filter is important. How you build that filter,
okay, and
how you're entering the data. This is a general thing, and I think people that are familiar with data and with our system know this. But like if you build a filter for line 1 and it's LINE space the number 1, that's going to get everything that has LINE space 1, but it's not going to get everything that's LINE space ONE. So how data gets entered, which is why we have in data entry and PC collect ways to lock down what you choose from those traceability lists, so that your filter always works. And you don't, I could put Matt today, I could put MB tomorrow. It's right, really the same person, but to the computer, yep, to the filter, it's different. Which brings up one other thing I can show if we've got time. We still have this open. So I'm going to do this here. With filters, we do have something that I kind of kept this in my back pocket if we had time. With filters, you can actually do a you don't have a traceability field. Let's try this. Yours is not turning on. Let me just freehand this. This build multi-row filter. I'm not sure why it's not coming up for Phil. We'll figure that offline. It'll actually pop up a dialog, which if you check this box, will show you everything that's put into that field for that particular traceability field. So if you don't check that box, it's just going to show you what's in your default drop-down list. If you check that box, it's going to run a query of the database, and it's going to give you everything that's in that recent data for that thing. And you can check multiple ones. So I can say for machine, give me machine A, machine B, machine D, but not machine C, and I can just check A, B, and D and click OK, and it will build this multi-row filter for you, so you don't have to do all of them.
Okay.
That does not work for part numbers. I know there's somebody I worked with this week that was doing a multi-part number filter, but it does work for traceability. So that's something to consider and should work for you. Phil may have something turned off here. We'll look at that offline.
All right, we do have a question. So we like the way our charts look in Legacy, SPC, and DMS. They're standardized for all our facilities, so across different facilities. Can these settings be set as defaults rather than a chart skin?
Yes. So that is done in admin. Everything that you set in admin, you can apply those settings to the new charts and they will be the default. You can actually set up a chart skin as your default. So you build everything that you want the way you want it and save that as your default in admin, and then when you load charts, it gets those settings. You can save a chart skin and then set your chart skin as your default, and it'll update everything in admin for you, so you don't have to go through it. You can kind of play with it in GainSeeker charts, get it looking like what you want, save your chart skin, then go to admin and set the chart skin as your default.
Okay.
Or you can build it in admin, just go through all the settings and set them up the way you want.
Right. All right. So what we showed today looked a little one off, two off.
Yeah.
However, what you're saying is we took that into account with the admin module. You can set those defaults and it can be as chart skin. So something you create, you like it, we're going to admin, we're going to apply that to everybody.
Apply to everybody. Yep.
Awesome. Fantastic. So. Great. All right. Well, we are over time a little bit. So want to thank you all for tuning in this week. This month, next month on December 19th, we will be talking about our next version of GainSeeker 9.3. We've got some really exciting things to show you there. We have some new language capabilities in PC Collect. We're going to be having Spanish and French to start us off there. We've been limping along in various ways with our ability to do other languages. And we've finally really, I think, done a really great job here in PC Collect with our first couple of translations. And then a data canvas. And some of you may have seen previews of this. This is a nice new way of showing data entry, especially like from, say, a number of gauges. And you can get a visual and put the readings actually on a visual of a part. And so we'll show you what that looks like. And then dynamic reports is new and improved. We have dynamic reports 2, and it is faster and much more stable and easier to work with than the original dynamic reports. So there's a couple of things and plus others that we'll be covering in December. So thank you all so much for joining us. Glad to have you here in increasing your knowledge about GainSeeker, and thank you, Matt, for your presentation today, and we'll catch up with you all next month. Have a great Thanksgiving.
All right, good evening.